Creating a personal brand can be daunting, mythical task. And one of the easiest ways to get lost in the process is to not know where to start. Even Oprah Winfrey began by going through several life iterations on a small local show before defining her voice into one of the most influential personal brands in the world. In both our look at me culture shift and evolving job market, it's helpful and necessary to stand out when applying for a job or starting your own company. A personal brand is for everyone, and that's what we're going to talk about on the show today. Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Socially Desi Show, the podcast that motivates you to live, create, and inspire. If this is your first time here, welcome. On our show, we discuss tips and strategies with our guest speakers on how to tackle problems related to personal growth, mental health, relationships, entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. So hit that subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. Today, I'm joined by Shivani Malhotra. She is a seasoned HR professional with over 16 years of experience in various senior HR positions at reputed Indian and multinational companies in India and abroad. Shivani is the founder and CEO of Positive Vibes Consulting. She is also Director Strategy and Head of Human Resources at Vega Schools, Gurgaon. Hello, Shivani. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anurag. Hi, everyone.
It's a great pleasure to be hosting you on the show today, Shivani. So, to our audience who don't know you, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us more about Positive Vibes?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Hi to all the listeners of Socially Desi. Um, a brief introduction about myself. My name is Shivani Malhotra, and I am the founder of an organization called Positive Vibes Consulting. I'm also the head of human resources at Vega Schools, Gurgaon, one of the top 10 schools in this part of the country. Um, I have an experience of about 16 years in various HR positions in Indian and multinational companies. After having worked in prestigious companies such as DCM Shriram Limited, Yum Brands, and KPMG, I started my own venture, which is Positive Vibes Consulting, in 2016. Positive Vibes is a fast growing dynamic organization which is partnering with individuals, corporates, and education institutions to provide mentoring and customized HR advisory and training interventions. Our endeavor is to help people, actually all professionals, carve out their niche in their careers by mentoring them to overcome their professional challenges.
And talking about challenges, during these COVID times we are living in, it's really important for us to talk about how we can actually brand ourselves, right? And on this show today, guys who are listening to us, Shivani would be talking in more terms of how we can develop and present ourselves as a brand and have a successful career, and someone who's actually looking at this as not an issue but an opportunity where they can actually catapult their career into something big. So Shivani, why don't you tell us more about what exactly do you mean by personal brand?
Okay, so that's a very relevant question in today's times. What is a personal brand? First of all, let's understand who is it for.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about a personal brand, who exactly are we talking about? So, personal brand, in my view, is your story that people tell others when you are not around. So, in a nutshell, it's applicable for everyone.
Right.
All of us have our own personal brand. Some of us consciously work upon it and have created a stronger personal brand than others. From a professional standpoint, it is the process of consciously and intentionally marketing yourself and your career in a way that influences perceptions about you amongst people in your ecosystem, which could be your peers, your juniors, your superiors, clients, etc., in a very positive manner.
True.
So, in other words, people recognize you for something, for example, as an industry expert or a subject matter expert, or a crisis manager, consensus builder, or similar terms. So, typically, the process of personal branding involves three things. Okay, first is finding your uniqueness. Second is building a reputation for it. And third, and the most important part, is allowing people at large to know you for it,
That is so
right?
true. Yeah, that is so true. And even, I look at branding as it's not about getting your target market to choose you over the competition, right?
Yes,
It's more about getting your prospects to see you as the only one that can provide a solution to their challenge or an immediate need.
absolutely.
So it's everything that you do, that either strengthens or dilutes your personal brand. And rightly said, about these three things, which are, finding your uniqueness. So how, let's talk about this, Shivani. How do someone find their voice, find their personality
Hmm,
in their career?
sure. See, before we understand that, on how does one find their
Hmm.
voice, there are certain misconceptions about personal branding,
Hmm.
that we generally have as professionals. So, while there are many misconceptions about personal branding, I'd like to help all our, socially desi listeners abandon, the top four misconceptions that people have in this respect. So let me begin by saying that, first of all, myth number one is I'm a manager, senior manager, director, CXO at my company, and I do not need any more branding. This is myth number one, that I've reached a certain position in my career and now branding is immaterial for me.
Hmm.
Well, let me just begin by saying that your position in your company is just a designation or a title, which anyone else can occupy once you leave.
True.
Nobody is irreplaceable. Therefore, by that virtue alone, your designation is not, I repeat, not your personal brand. Case in point, Rahul Dravid. He was an engineer by profession, but today everyone knows him as the Wall, even after he has retired from the game. That's his personal brand.
So true. Yeah.
Okay. That is the first myth. Second myth is it's too late to develop a personal brand for me. A lot of us fall into that, a lot of us get into that cocoon of, being with ourselves and thinking that, okay, what can I do now? It's too late,
Yeah.
for me to develop a personal brand. So while the thought of rebranding yourself may seem only slightly better than a kick to the
Hmm.
face, but it's not impossible.
True.
Take it some, does it take some strategy? Well, sure it does. Can it be time expensive? Can it be time expensive? Well, kind of, but it is not impossible. In my career, I have seen many folks make some pretty far-fetched career changes. Even if I were to talk about some well-known people, for example, Chetan Bhagat,
Yeah. Yeah.
he changed his career from being an investment banker to a very, very successful author. And it was a process for him as well. So remember, your personal brand can really differentiate yourself in this competitive world. And frankly, it's a continuous process.
So
So you
true.
better start now than never,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's true.
Now, coming to myth number three, if it is not broken, don't fix it. We've all heard of this adage. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me bust this using a very relevant example. Let's say you are embarking on your job hunt. Now, what are the things that you are likely to do? Let's see. Update resume, done. Spell check, done. LinkedIn profile update, done. Clean your social profile, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, etc. Done. Finally, you will send your resume and wait for a call back, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, think again. So while having a good grammatically correct CV and a squeaky clean web presence is a good start, but actually it's not enough. If you really want to up your chances of being hired, you'll want to add some flash and band to your positive search results. So things like blogs, articles, discussion forums, professional point of view, etc. is what helps you. Now tell me, this is a question for a lot of my listeners. When was the last time you added some of that, what we call razzmatazz to your CV that is beyond your regular experience updates? Remember, not broken and not boring are two different qualities.
So true, so true.
Am I making sense, Anurag?
Definitely, you are making sense. And I just want to add here and ask you something, Shivani.
Sure.
Like, as an HR, right, we have always heard that it takes like a 3 or 4 second for an HR to actually shortlist or reject a CV. So, tell me something. This point is actually very valid when it comes to adding those extra flares to your CV. Uh, how
Yes.
do you shortlist like those initial, like, it's a saying, I don't know how relevant it is, that in the first 5 or 6 seconds either you get rejected or you get shortlisted for a position. So what all do you look at in a CV when it comes to shortlisting?
Okay, so first of all, I don't agree, with the statement that it just takes 5 to 6 seconds for HR to reject CV. Then HR is actually not seeing the CV. Then HR is just
Hmm.
flipping through pages, first of
Right.
all,
Hmm.
because to be able to actually see the CV, you need at least 5 to 7 minutes, at least.
Okay. Okay.
And I think, with due respect to the applicants, for all my HR colleagues who are on the show, this is my advice that, everybody is making their best effort to apply and to get selected. And CV is the first, a medium that they get in touch with you. So do give it the time that it deserves.
Right. Right.
So a minimum of 5 to 7 minutes should be spent on one CV to see in detail the experience of the person. The most important thing that everybody looks for is the quality of experience.
Yeah.
So make sure you highlight the quality of experience, right?
Yeah.
Second, as an HR person, when I have to hire for my organization, I'm looking for someone who is stable, because I don't want to be looking for this, for a replacement for this person again 6 months down the line. So I would see someone who has the minimum number of job changes, or somebody who has spent a considerable amount of time in, the jobs that he or she has been into previously. That's the second thing. Thirdly, I would say in times of today, a lot of work, in fact, 50% of the work is done by the digital portals themselves, because all of us go to portals and we put filters, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very important that you use the right keywords, so that if I type a keyword, your CV comes to me. Because, if your CV does not have those keywords, then even if you've done all the work that I'm looking for, but just because it did not appear in the search, you've missed out on an opportunity.
Right.
So, writing the CV is also an art in itself, and especially writing a digital CV is a different ballgame altogether from writing a physical CV.
Right.
So, I would, recommend to my listeners that do some research. There are very good tips available on the internet, to on the right way to write your CV, and do apply those, because let's face it, if people are looking for jobs, even HR is looking for good people. It's very tough to find good people.
True. True.
So if you're good and you know it, and so there should be no reason why your CV should not talk about your accomplishments and your achievements.
And that's a very valid point. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Having the right kind of credentials to a particular job that you're applying. I see a lot of people making these kind of mistakes, and I'm guilty of making such mistakes myself in the past, where I'm applying for, let's say, 10, 12 companies, and I have the same CV across all 12. I mean, that's foolish. For each company, I believe that you should basically customize your CV, have the right kind of credentials there. So I believe everyone listening to us, especially young professionals, they do a lot of mistakes like this. I would definitely recommend them to customize your CV, customize your experiences across the board for each company that you apply, so that it looks like it looks like a customized and targeted CV to an HR when he or she is looking at it.
Absolutely. And what you said is actually a very valid point. Sometimes people tend to believe that my credentials are enough to stand on their own. But this again is a myth, because it's easy to, get caught up in the me aspects of your brand,
Yeah.
where your CV is just talking, about I, me, myself.
Yeah.
So after all, you've put endless hours into leveling up your skills and bagging some amazing achievements. But here's the thing, your degree and the timeline of accomplishments on your resume won't do all the selling for you unless you can explain how all of your so-called me stuff can benefit the potential client or employers.
True,
So
true.
you'll have an extremely difficult time creating the traction that you want,
Yeah,
right? And pitching your value isn't just something you should do in interviews. If you're not hustling a little on a near daily basis,
yeah,
you can
yeah.
consider your brand half baked actually. So sure, your brand is made up of your business cards, your razor sharp, interviewing skills, and a string of online branding channels, but it's also built on a very important aspect that we miss most of the times, which is relationships.
True.
And in the long run, it's the relationships that support your career growth. So do take out time to send thank you notes, jump into help without being asked. Just wow your clients and build others up along with you. Be quick on your feet and use every word and action to reinforce your reputation for value and all around awesomeness.
Yeah.
This is something that I have personally experienced in my career, that whichever organization I have worked for, um, I'm very proud to say that even if today I want to go back to that organization, they'll accept me with open, loving arms, because that's the kind of reputation or the brand that I have created for myself. Because I never looked at the organization as an employer. I looked at it, um, like a place where I belong to. And when you belong to a certain place, you don't just do things for the heck of earning money, or for the heck of just passing time. You do it with a lot of passion, and that's what I've done in my career. I work with a lot of passion in the organizations that I have worked with previously in the past, or the ones in which I'm working currently. And that is something that, in my personal experience, has really helped me in growing in my career. So that's the personal brand.
Yeah, it should be more like an extension of your family rather than just a workplace that you go to.
Absolutely. If you consider it to be an extension of your family, that's when they'll also accept you as a family member, and that's when the association actually goes beyond years. Whether you were there with them for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. The association is sort of, it goes for eternity. So what you said is actually right.
And that is where the power of your personal brand comes in.
Absolutely.
Right. When you are talking about, you as part of the company rather than, like you said, the me stuff,
Yeah.
the more you engage yourself within the company, the more you become an indispensable part of the company. That is where you gain a lot of references. Guys, I am referring to the two references that, each company asks you on your CV. So make sure those two references that you always give are the ones that can truly believe in what you did, and they believe in your personal brand as well. They can be more like a propagator of you as a personal brand.
Yes. And, there's a lot of credibility when you give those references, of the people who have, directly managed you. So people who've been your immediate supervisors. So this is another thing, that I have experienced, that in all the companies that I have gone to, I have always given my bosses, my previous boss's name as the reference,
Right.
for the reference check. And I've very proudly done that, because I know that my all my superiors genuinely care for me, and they do understand the need of the change, because I've always maintained a very trusting relationship, very open relationship with them, wherein we've been very clear on why I'm leaving, and what is it that I'm looking for. So that's the kind of trust that you need to build with the people that you work with, because tomorrow, if you're looking for a new job and you want people to talk good about you, then it really doesn't help if you give me a colleague's reference number, because let's face it, all HR people know that you're giving a reference check of someone who will speak good about you.
Yeah.
But if you're giving a reference of your ex-boss, then it absolutely says a lot about your credibility with your boss, with the organization, the level of trust, and the kind of person that you are.
True.
So definitely you'll score brownie points there.
Right. That's true. So how do you leverage your personal brand in your career?
Now that's I think, very valid question, and that's what everybody's waiting to hear.
Yeah, true.
So, let me contextualize this question a little bit more. a recent survey that was done by PwC on customer experience from a millennial perspective revealed that about 63% people have a declining trust in brands.
Oh, okay.
Now, that's an alarming number.
Yeah, yeah.
Millennials are increasingly looking to experts and individuals who they trust over corporate brands to guide their purchasing decisions. And interestingly, millennials are more than 3 times as likely as boomers.
True.
So 22% versus 7% to turn to social channels. They're on the hunt for feedback from experts and people with common interests, not just personal connections. Now, with this context, it is clear that companies are more likely to reward those employees who have a stronger personal brand.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's come to the question on how we can leverage this in our career. Now, I will try and lay out my 4 steps for all our listeners to get started on this.
Mm-hmm.
The first point is identify issues and topics you're passionate about and that move the business forward.
Yeah.
All right. That's number 1. Number 2, create a mission statement and ensure your personal brand topics align with this statement. You can't be going in isolation of, the mission that you are there for in the organization. So it has to align. It has to align with the mission statement, right? Number 3, start contributing your perspective on your industry's most important problems. Now, part of building your personal brand is generating the content that communicates your personality.
Yeah.
One of the first steps you should take is to build a portfolio. Now, don't just, throw everything you've done in one place either. Be thoughtful, be purposeful, be bold, and showcase what you're proud of, what you identify with, and what will set you apart from the rest.
Right, right.
That's my third tip. And last but not the least, guys, be authentic and be genuine. Just because it's called personal branding doesn't mean it stretches the truth or is just marketing that other people want to hear. In fact, you'll want it to be the truest reflection of you. People will see right through you if there are ulterior motives to your personal branding efforts. Believe me, guys on the other side of the table have far more experience to see through any sort of lies.
Yeah.
Do some digging internally to hone in on what you're good at, what you can become better at, and what you're interested in.
True.
It's important to focus actually your personal branding so that it's cohesive to the outside world. So if you guys take positive actions on the above steps and the steps that I've just spoken of, and you will actually surely see, you'll start witnessing an increased buoyancy in your career. Does that make sense, Anurag?
Yeah, definitely it makes sense. And these 4 points are actually really valid for someone who is just starting their career or who's stuck in a particular position in an organization. It's a good time to actually reflect on yourself, have a self-reflection, session with yourself, sit down and think over it. I mean, what exactly are you doing as part of your personal branding to stand out in the crowd, right? When you work in a multinational, you are working with thousands and thousands of employees. And most of them are, the kind of selection that these companies do. They are very competitive. So, I mean, you can expect your colleagues to be from the exact 8-year colleges that you have passed out from, and they will be having the similar kind of experiences and portfolios. So it's really important to be genuine, to be authentic. I mean, everybody can see through your bullshit. So it's really important for you to portray who you are, but of course you need to be aligned as per the company's mission and statement. A lot of times, when I started my career, we used to laugh about the kind of vision and statements that our head companies used to put out. I mean, we were naive at that time. We didn't understand the thought process that went behind finalizing a mission and a goal for the organization and putting it out on the world, because not only you but your competitive companies are also looking at your mission statements, your visions for the next 5 years, and they would also be competing with you in the long run.
Sure.
So it's really important for anyone who is in an organization to leverage your personal brand with these 4 important tips. And what about businesses, Shivani? How do you leverage your personal brand when you are having your own business?
Sure. Now, that is something that brings in a little bit of a different flair, a little bit of a different flavor to this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, while some of the steps, like I said earlier, are applicable to entrepreneurs in their business, but there are a few more critical steps for them. So, let me, just list down those points as well for everyone. Let me talk about them because I'm sure we do have a lot of entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs or people who want to become entrepreneurs. So it's very important for them to also know on how they can create that personal brand. Because let's face it, the startup world is not easy, to survive in.
True.
So my first advice for them is that use your personal brand to build and develop relationships with the influencers in your niche. Now, once you start to build a strong personal brand, it becomes much easier to network and connect with influencers within your niche. Now, these influencers, to be very honest, they get contacted all day long by people wanting to network, share content, and leverage them in some other way. But the problem is that the people typically asking for favor have nothing of value to give in return,
True.
right? Now, as your personal brand grows, so does your reach and popularity. So, when you approach the influencers, they are going to do a little digging to see what kind of personal brand you have. If they see that you have built a strong one, they're going to be more likely to help share your content or even interview you for their blog or stuff like that, which takes your personal branding or your credibility of your organization to the next level.
True.
Now, all of this helps to put your personal brand and business in front of a new audience. So, an influencer can only introduce you, but it's up to your personal brand to convince them to become a customer.
So true.
That's the power of influencer and your personal brand. Secondly, incorporate your personal brand into speeches, marketing and your public events. So, whether you're speaking to a large audience or you're networking with two fellow business owners, don't be afraid to tie your brand into a conversation. Tell stories. Everybody loves to listen to stories. Talk about your hobbies. Let the audience get to know you personally, not in just in your professional capacity.
Right.
By interweaving your brand into your conversation, you can simultaneously impress your audience with your knowledge of the industry and create a very strong personal appeal.
True.
So that's the second tip. Then I would also advise entrepreneurs to use direct marketing, okay? But make sure your brand always shines through. So whether it is your website or a direct mail campaign, branding yourself as the celebrity expert in your market while presenting a strong call to action is powerful. So don't just market the services you provide, market yourself through your brand. Your customers want to know that they are in good hands. So always present yourself as the most credible expert in your market.
So true. I mean, who else, to market your brand than yourself?
Absolutely.
I mean, someone who has created your own company. I mean, it should be evident that you should be the front man heading the whole show. And, I would like to give an example here of Reliance. I mean, if you look at Reliance, 10-15 years back, you wouldn't see Mukesh Ambani coming too much in front of the camera or, having those kind of campaigns where you see Mukesh Ambani
Absolutely.
in front. But now you see in the last 2-3 years, especially when Jio was announced and all that, you see the shift of direct marketing where you actually get to see more of Mukesh Ambani, in front of the camera, in front of its campaign. So it's a really valid point to be in front of your own campaigns, and since you are the owner of the business, you should be the one who should stand in front and say, yes, my customers are in good hands because I am the expert in the market when it comes to my kind of product or services.
Absolutely. Well, as far as Mukesh Ambani goes, I'll give the credit to his wife, Neeta Ambani, who started this, physical presence at the time of branding and launching and a lot of other work that she does. And I think, as is the custom, he followed through and he's successful today. So let's Give some credit to the lady also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely. All credits to Nita Ambani as well. And plus now, since they have their kids who are now taking over the
Yes.
company. So, like you said, millennials are now they are more focused on online marketing. They are more focused on reaching out to internet and finding out their voice there and figuring out whom they can collaborate with over the internet. So, a great point to discuss here.
Cool. Absolutely, what you've said makes sense. It's like the brand that I have created. I know what it stands for. I may hire the best brand manager in the market, but the way I will market my brand, nobody else can. Let's face it, it's the truth. Yeah.
So great points, how for especially entrepreneurs, how they can leverage their own personal brands into building their organization, building their companies, and focusing more on how do you reach out to customers and how do you actually brand yourself to be an integral part of your company. Moving on to, talking about what sort of impact has this whole COVID situation has had on careers. So, Shivani, in your experience with Positive Vibes, what sort of impact have you seen, especially on college freshers during this time?
Yeah, I think again one very relevant question and very pertinent for the current times. See, with everything coming to a standstill in this pandemic, finding the right job has definitely become a challenging task for many,
True.
and especially for those who are looking forward to start their career in 2020. But I personally feel that there are many things that freshers can do during this time when companies have cut the pace on hiring. And some of these things that freshers can do now can actually have a lasting impact on their careers. So, here are a few things that I'm going to talk about for the benefit of all the freshers, who are looking out actively for a job and who are tuned in right now. The first advice is that guys, network aggressively. Okay, reach out to as many people as you can. Most companies prefer hiring through employee referrals. So try to add people who work in your dream companies, to your network.
True.
Follow them, be a part of their conversations. Just remember, it's all like an investment in building your personal brand. So do reach out, network,
True.
reach out to as many people as possible. There are professional networking sites like LinkedIn. Everybody knows about it. So LinkedIn is full of people in the corporate sector, entrepreneurs, mentors, coaches, you name it, and everybody's there. So do reach out to people and add them to your network. It really, really helps. Um, Second thing is, use this time to develop, relevant and trending skills. Now, identify the core skills and competencies that employers in your field seek. Don't just do random courses.
Yeah.
Okay, enroll for courses and certifications that are relevant and that are trending in today's times, and highlight the same. Do remember to highlight the same on your resume. Third is take up remote freelancing jobs or internships. Another thing that comes very handy is that you work on certain internships.
Yeah.
So while the colleges and universities, they all train us on competencies and skills, but companies do prefer some experience when you put those skills to use. So do take up a freelance job or a work from home internship in this lockdown to get the hang of the nitty gritty of your field and add work experience on your CV.
So true. Yeah.
And finally, guys, prepare for interviews. The silver lining of this lockdown has been the abundance of time. Let's face it. So utilize this time well to prepare yourself for interviews so that you don't have to worry when you get called in. Use your network to figure out the kind of interview pattern, the various companies that you would have applied to, follow and prepare accordingly. As most of the companies are still working remotely, do prepare yourself for a video interview.
So true.
So I think if all the youngsters on the show, all the people who are looking out for a job, if they follow these four tips religiously, I don't see any reason why they should not be finding a job. despite the pandemic.
So true. And rightly said, we should prepare ourselves for any sort of opportunities that might come our way, and be prepared to work from home, remote work, whatever it may be, as long as you are getting some sort of an experience, be it with your internships or a freelance job. As long as you get experience, I'm sure there would be companies out there looking out for you.
Absolutely. You said it all.
Yeah, and prepare yourself for a video interview. Of course, I mean, don't forget to shave, and make sure that you're wearing proper. I mean, it's always good to
Yes,
prep up for any sort of interview.
absolutely.
And I see a lot
Absolutely.
of people making these kind of mistakes. Especially, I have a lot of friends who are working in corporates, and when the lockdown started back in March, we used to speak on video calls with a few friends, and they used to tell me that, oh, they're having like 10 to 12 video calls in a day with the company
Hmm.
managers and all that. But
Yeah,
it's always important to be presentable on screen,
absolutely.
be it at your home or wherever. Make sure that you find a corner of your home or your room which is presentable, and you're in front of the camera. Make sure you're well dressed appropriately
Yes.
within your organization. So, especially like even if you're a management consultant and you're used to wearing suits in the office, if you have a video call happening, make sure at least you're wearing a shirt in front of the camera. Don't sit with a crew neck or a V-neck. That doesn't look professional at all.
The way you look and the way you present yourself is actually, what is going to determine the further course of interview.
True.
And this is, not something that I'm saying. This is actually proven by research that, the first 12 seconds actually, a person decides within 12 seconds whether they want to hire you or not, based on, your body language, the way you look, the way, you respond. So it's like, it's got a lot to do with your appearance. So
True.
what you're saying is right. Even if you're sitting on a video call, make sure you deck up, make sure you're, professionally, well attired, and you are in a quiet place where there is no background noise. Of course, we are working from home, and some noise, is possible at times. But then try and schedule your interviews at a time when you feel, you're relatively, your house is relatively lesser noisy. And if that's not
True.
possible, then I would say just, probably go lock yourself in the bathroom, but do sit in a quiet place. So yeah.
True. Make sure you don't get that call from your mother. Beta, khana lag gaya hai. Aa jao. So make sure that those kind of
Make sure you tell your
interruptions
mother.
are not happening.
Make sure you tell your mother that you're not talking to her husband, but you're giving a job interview. That's when you will not get these kind of,
Yeah.
beta sounds.
True.
All right.
True.
Yes.
Coming back to we have spoken about the kind of impact that COVID has had on freshers.
Yeah.
What about the middle management positions? What about those professionals who are handling teams, or they are at a senior position in an organization? What's happening to them?
Sure. Let me just begin by saying that COVID has actually had the maximum impact on the middle management professionals of companies.
Okay.
This is the layer in the organization that gets the job executed. And so far, organizations have placed their utmost focus, on the physical effects of COVID-19. But a more significant challenge is emerging, which is employees' mental well-being.
True.
Mid-level professionals like many of us, are not equipped to tackle the challenges of remotely managing our team members' welfare.
Yeah.
Now, just to exemplify this, we at Positive Vibes have been having very candid discussions with professionals across sectors.
That's nice. Yeah.
And and I'll share with you all some of the findings, on the key sources of stress in these days, which most of the professionals are, facing. Number one is the prolonged working hours. Now, most professionals have told us that they are now working much longer hours than they used to, even in busy periods. Partly because of the diluted definition of office space and personal space.
Yeah.
And partly because their workload has increased considerably as they support their employer during the crisis. Because let's face it, everybody wants to save their job. So even if the employer is, piling on work onto you, most of the people at these times will not say a no, because everybody wants to save their job. And in fact, one service professional pointed out how the transition from office work to personal space is actually not happening. And I remember her saying that at any time of the day, I'm just working. And it has, it has actually taken a toll on my physical and mental health. And I'm, still looking for the pause button.
Oh.
So this is the kind of stress that we are dealing with. And let's face it, I would not stereotype it to a particular gender, though, typically in Indian households, women end up doing most of the housework. But
True.
even if we were to talk about, both the genders, everybody has had added responsibilities with, domestic help not being there, with children at home. So it has definitely added to the workload. And along with that, of course, comes some stress and anxiety. So that has really risen in the past 3 months that we've been locked down, now almost going to be 4 months. The second, thing that we found out was around micromanagement. Now, what is happening is that managers are becoming extra cautious about deliverables, and they are, frequently checking on them because they cannot physically monitor their teams. And this is leading to multiple meetings or one-on-ones, which is again putting additional stress on employees to be available at any time of the day.
True.
It's a statement कि तुम तो घर पे ही हो.
True, true.
भाई अगर घर पे भी हैं तो घर पे भी काम होता है.
True.
But not many employers actually consider that. Meaning you're at home, that doesn't mean that you are, available 100% of the time to take a call or to attend a meeting or to send a report at any time of the day. So as managers, as managers who are managing teams under them, I think it's important for them to realize that this is a difficult time for everyone. People are stuck indoors for the last 4 months. The usual outlets of stress, which is like going to a gym or going for a jog or going to watch a movie, going to the restaurant, going to a mall, going for shopping, nothing is happening right now.
So true.
And all people are, stuck with is the, the house and whatever they can do inside the house. And most of us live in apartments, so not much of physical space available to, move around as well. So it's a tough time. I think empathy at these times is very critical. And in fact, let me tell you, the organizations that show empathy in these times of crisis to their employees are the organizations that will grow big because they have massive trust and credibility from their employees.
Well said, well said.
So
yeah.
This is this is a big learning for all employers out there, that this is the time when your people are looking for support. This is the time when they are looking at you to help them wade through this crisis. And if you're able to do that, you bought them for life.
True.
Trust me. They won't leave and go anywhere, even if somebody gives them a higher salary package at a future date. Because you've got their, you've got their, in fact, it's like you've got their back, and they are, they are assured that if anything happens to me, my company is there to support me. And that's a big feeling to.
Yeah. I mean, they say in India, right, that work for Tata and buy Reliance, right? So it's
yes.
So it's a big thing.
Yes.
It's because Tata, at the time
Yes.
when they started off, the kind of employee support that they gave, right, as an
Yes.
employer, it was huge. So I mean, everyone wanted to work for Tata. They were like, they used to. I have seen people like, in fact, I have friends who have been working for Tata for the last 7-8 years. I started my career with Tata. So, but I moved on, and there are a few people that I've seen who have actually started their career with Tata, and they've actually retired from the same company. So it's really important, as an employer, if you can have that faith and support your team, then definitely your team will do anything for you.
Absolutely. That's very well said. And, there is a trend from what we hear from our, the people that we mentor in at Positive Vibes. What we hear is that when this pandemic started and we all, were in lockdown, that time it was, the managers were still considerate because they understood that it's a different situation and it's a difficult situation, and they were wanting to support as much as they can. But somewhere, down the line, they've also given in, they've also succumbed to the business pressures. And, now that sort of empathy that was there earlier looks like it's diluting quite a bit.
Okay.
Because now again, and I don't blame them also, because business has been down for so many months and it can't be it's not sustainable, right, like that. So they do have to concentrate on the business as well. So it's a very catch-22 situation right now for both the employees as well as the employers. But as I said, the only way to wait through this is to stand by each other. There is no other way.
True.
There is no other way for getting. I mean, we talk about mental health these days. Well, mental health, of course, is the most important thing, no doubt about it. But then, um, if you really have the resilience in you, your mental health is actually dependent on you yourself. Because if you choose to, believe that, okay, now this pandemic has come, everything is going bad for me, my boss is this, my boss is that, or nothing is going fine, I'm stuck indoors. If you think on those lines, if you let those negative thoughts surround you, then surely your mental health is not going to go anywhere. It is going to be negative. It's in fact going to, go down the drain.
Yeah.
But if you surround yourself with a little more positivity, think of this as a temporary phase in your life. I mean, you all would have had many phases in your life. Some of them would have been pleasant, some of them wouldn't have been as pleasant, but nothing lasts forever. So why don't we look at it in a way that even this situation is not going to last forever? It's a very temporary thing that has hit us. So this will pass, this too shall pass. If that is the mindset that you have, then no pandemic and no bad boss or nothing is going to let your mental health go anywhere.
True.
So I think a lot of it depends on your emotional resilience as well. How emotionally sorted are you?
True.
Is what I'd like to say.
True. And
Yeah.
when coming back to bad bosses, what sort of impact do you see in the CXO suit in this pandemic?
Yeah. So see, it's safe to say that nearly every leader has been faced with moments of crisis,
Yeah.
ranging from their brief bumps in the road to more sustained issues. It's also safe to say that the current crisis, including the COVID-19 pandemic, is different from anything we've all faced in over a century. One that looks to be a prolonged and possibly existential challenge for organizations.
So true. Yeah.
So effective leadership in a prolonged crisis with such serious consequences is absolutely necessary, for an organization and its people. But that requires physical, psychological, and emotional fortitude. I was reading a recent report by YPO that revealed that 78% of the CXOs are expecting to see a dramatically negative impact on their top line over the next 6 months. So clearly, it is not easy being a top executive in such times. But again, we've heard this a number of times from the CXOs that we are interacting with at Positive Vibes. We have some tips, to manage this situation as well. And these are very calm tips. These are very easy, doable tips. Something that you really don't have to, sort of dig a mind to do. So first is stay calm. Okay, make decision based on the facts and think beyond the crisis. As I said, this too shall pass. We all will recover. Keep that as the center of your thought process. Stay calm. Losing your cool isn't going to happen. It isn't going to help you. So losing your cool isn't going to help you. It's going to make situations far worse for you as well as for the people working for you. So why go down that road?
The kind of layoffs that happened in the last month,
Yeah.
what would you term them as? Were they panicky steps taken by companies, or were they well-informed decisions?
See, being in the HR arena for the last 16 years, my experience has been that layoffs are never easy.
True. Yeah.
Layoffs for an organization are the most difficult thing to do. And no organization, no good organization, credible organization would ever go for layoffs unless and until it is absolutely necessary for the survival of the organization. So, to assume that the layoffs have been panicky, well, I don't think so, because if an organization is deciding to lay off people, it also has to, you just don't ask people to leave. You have to pay them severance pay, and then people might take you to court, etc., etc. There are many other complications involved. So you would really think through those decisions before laying off people. And if you feel that the situation in the coming months is not going to improve, your organization just cannot sustain the manpower cost that it has, that's when you decide to lay off.
But generally, do people take them down to court? It happens in India?
Of course it does.
Okay. I mean, I have not seen much of these kind of cases. I mean, you must be knowing about it, but like generally in
litigations are everywhere. Litigations are everywhere. Any employee who's any employee, let me put it like that, you burnt badly, will definitely take you to court. And there are many cases which go on. But of course, because of the time that it takes to resolve a case, a lot of people don't go through that route and try to do an amicable settlement sort of a thing. But of course, there are litigations that happen by employees.
How hard are these mass layoffs? Like Ola, they fired around 1,600 people in one go, and even before the pandemic hit us, Oyo, I believe, fired around 12,000 people. I mean, it's huge. How are these how are these happening for the companies? Like, how difficult is it for the CXO suit to deal with these kind of mass layoffs?
It is, as I said, a very disturbing phase in any CXO's life. Forget HR, I'm talking about CXO. Any CXO is very tough if they have to lay off people, because it's not just about, laying off a certain set of people. It also impacts your brand. That, okay, this is the brand I don't want to be associated with, because there's no job security. They just fired 12,000 people. Why should I be a part of this brand? So it puts a question mark on the
brand
credibility
itself,
of the brand on which you have spent so many years and so much money you have spent on building that brand and making it known in the world. Suddenly, it's not easy to get a beating on the brand because you're laying off people. Similarly, I don't know if you guys are aware, a few years back, there was an incident in Maruti's Manesar plant, wherein the HR manager was actually, attacked and he was killed.
Yes, yeah.
And it was out of personal animosity by a person who was, by a group of people who were asked to leave. So it is like actually putting your life also into danger when you're talking about layoffs.
Yeah.
So, this myth that, they just lay off people in a jiffy, it's not right. It is very, very taxing and an extremely difficult decision for an organization to decide to lay off people. And as I said, organizations would do it only and only if they know that, there's just no way the organization can sustain if this manpower cost stays.
True.
And only if the organization is on a verge of collapse will such mass layoffs happen.
True.
Yeah. So the second thing that I'd like to tell them is that always anticipate, be optimistic, but plan for the worst. Set up a contingency plan and be ready to implement it. Things might be going well for you at this moment, but the times are very uncertain. And what if in the future this situation doesn't improve and your business takes a further beating? So then what? So it's always good to plan ahead, think ahead, and plan for the worst. That is my second advice. Thirdly, I urge them to engage with their staff. This is the time to, like I said, leverage the purpose of your company and have your leaders, especially the CXOs, engage with the staff on a frequent basis, because your people are also in panic. They have a lot of fear. So addressing that panic and that fear head on is the best thing to do in these times. It's very reassuring for your people. So be honest, be transparent, and convey that you share their concerns. And also remind them that you all will get through this together as one strong team. That's going to do a lot of good to their motivation and morale at this time.
True, yeah.
I'd also, urge the CXOs to protect employee well-being. So assure the health and well-being of your team. Work remotely as much as possible. Don't force people to come to work, come to office. Ensure support for staff during absences for medical issues, and you could always plan for a rotation of staff, and you could share responsibilities to cover any potential staff shortage, but do keep their health and well-being at the forefront. This will really help you pass through this pandemic in a much more smoother way. Also, ensure financial resilience. So focus on the strategic financial resilience plans. Cut cost wherever possible. I'm sure all of them have done it. Everybody has cut costs at this time, because everybody knows that right now cash is king. Whoever has the cash is going to see through this pandemic. So make very, very careful and strategic investments in this time. I know a lot of people have actually scrapped all the investments that they were doing, especially in the equity market and in the mutual funds. And people are actually going back to the good old, in the RBI bonds, and the assured return sort of FDs. Even FDs are not safe any longer in private banks, as per a lot of people. But so people are moving actually to government securities, which are absolutely 100% safe, and they know they will get their money back, which is actually a very prudent thing to do in these times. Then stay loyal to your customers. Loyalty isn't just a matter for your front line. It is imperative for you too and your leadership team, because your customers are also under the same stress as you are. And if you can help your most loyal customers with solutions that make a difference, you will tighten the bonds. And that closer relationship will help you once the emergency is over. So do stay loyal to your customers. And yeah, those are some of the things that I'd like to talk to my CXO friends on the show.
No, well said, because it's as important for the leader to be, standing with the team as it is for the team members to be standing with the leader, because that's how
Right.
a company is, right? Company is nothing but a group of people working together towards a common goal, right?
Right.
So it's really important that during these times, the company, the employees, they're working together and they're ensuring that they get through this difficulty. And I'm sure, like they say that every night has a day, so you will have
Yeah.
that day, you will have that sunshine, but it will take a bit of time, it will take some efforts to do it. And coming to efforts, how does training, when it comes to your company like Positive Vibes, how does training help someone to build their personal brand?
So, well, training can, in fact, more than training, it's mentoring that can actually, help a person build their personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
At Positive Vibes, we use a term called employability. Now, employability is something that is directly proportional to your personal brand. Now, let me just state what is employability. Now, I would like to just say that employability is a pretty big term. Some people look at it as a collection of certain technical skills, so like coding or keeping accounts or project management. To them, that is employability. Some would say that it's about getting a job, like having a great CV, having good qualifications, speaking good English. But actually, these are only partial definition of the terms. In my view, employability is actually having skills, knowledge, understanding, and the personal attributes that make you more likely to actually choose those professions in which you are both satisfied and successful. So that is employability. And, through our mentoring, we try and help individuals, get in touch with the potential that they have to build this employability.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it the employability quotient. So, employability quotient is we've all heard about, emotional quotient and intelligence quotient, but there's a bigger term than it, which is called the employability quotient. And that is what actually determines how, well have you been able to make a personal brand of yours whether in your existing organization or in your previous organization, or as an entrepreneur with your customers, with your clients. It's the employability quotient that actually determines the success of your career. And we have a framework to actually to actually mentor the people, the professionals, on achieving a high employability quotient. And it is actually, you'll be surprised to know, it is very, very measurable, and it is very quantifiable. So that's something that we like to help our mentees with, to up their employability quotient, uh, so that they can carve a niche for whichever career they choose to make.
I think it's a very valid point, when you said that it's measurable. Something which is quantifiable is really important, because I see a lot of people online, the self-called, self-made gurus that come online. They'll
Right.
they'll teach you a lot of things, and it will be all, talk, 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 and no results.
Sure.
So everyone listening out there, see, there will be a lot of mentors online. There will be a lot of companies who would be willing to provide you opportunities, who would be willing to train you to become, the perfect choice for any organization. But it's really important that you ask these mentors, you ask these self-called gurus, that how do I measure this? I mean, there has to be something which is quantifiable, right? Unless and until
Yes.
I understand that, okay, the kind of results that I would be getting out of this particular training or this particular session would actually do something for me, then it's not really worth your while to invest, or be it your time or money in those kind of trainings.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Very well said.
Yeah, that's a really good way of explaining the kind of employability question that one needs to have in their life. Apart from having an EQ and an IQ, the EMPQ is also really important. And Shivani, why don't you tell us more about the course that Positive Vibes is providing to the professionals out there?
Okay, I'll talk about the course briefly here, because, as you know, we do have a coffee session that's planned on Saturday evening from 6 to 7, just to talk about, this course. But let me, for the benefit of our listeners here, very briefly state what the course is all about. So, our course is basically on increasing your employability quotient, so that you can build that personal brand in an organization. So whether you have a stagnating career, or you're looking for a new job, or you're looking for a new role within your organization, or if you have the inherent need of getting recognized despite doing so much of hard work, then here's how we can help you. This course is basically centered around increasing your employability quotient. And it is a series of what's different from this course. There are many courses there are many organizations which offer courses like this. But then what is different in our course is that it is not a training, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
It is a very specialized mentoring that we do with our participants. And mentoring is done by me and by my other co-founder, who is also someone who's a senior corporate mentor, Deva Malhotra. And we do a lot of one-on-one mentoring, which is centered around the particular issues that that individual is facing. So it's not a general course. While there are some general modules in the course around the employability skills, but the major chunk of this course and the differentiating factor of this course is the one-on-one specialized mentoring sessions that we have with all our mentees. And the idea of having these mentorship sessions is to help them in their individual battles, because everybody today is facing some battle or the other as far as their professional life is concerned. So hearing them out and helping them to explore options and recommending what sort of career would be good for them, how can they excel in their current careers, We use a lot of psychometric techniques also, wherein we measure the present employability quotient of the person, and actually pick out their strengths, which we can mentor them to build on further, and the areas of opportunity, or what we call as weaknesses, on how they can overcome those. So that's about the course on employability quotient that we are offering at Positive Vibes, and it is especially beneficial for people during these times. It's a very reasonably priced course, and we've specially designed it, for people who are battling with the current economic situation.
And to all the socially desi listeners out there, Positive Vibes, especially Shivani, you can get in touch with her for a one-on-one free training session. If you would, want to know more about the course and want to get an initial feedback from Shivani as to how to, up your EMP quotient and, get into the game of improving your, personal brand. This would be a good opportunity for you to get on a one-to-one call with Shivani and understand the kind of need that you would have, and how Positive Vibes can actually help you out. So I would definitely recommend you guys to check out the blog as well that Shivani has, gracefully written for Socially Desi a couple of days back. Definitely go check out sociallydesi.com/blog, and you will find her blog there, which talks a bit more about your employability quotient and how do you develop your personal branding. And of course, tomorrow we also have a coffee session which is done by Positive Vibes. The details of the coffee session would be on Socially Desi, and we would be putting it on our social media handles as well. Apart from this, you can definitely go and check out positivevibes.co.in and get in touch with Positive Vibes team, get in touch with Shivani, and they would definitely love to help you out in your career, in your journey to becoming a better person, right?
Great, that sounds good.
So that wraps it up for today, folks. Thank you, Shivani. Thank you for coming on the show and enlightening us with the details of how to develop your personal brand and leverage and improve your EMP quotient.
Thank you so much, Anurag, for having me here. And it was really wonderful talking to you on some of the issues which are really close to my heart. And I hope our listeners benefited from what I spoke today. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivani. And guys, if you liked the episode, give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and let's go viral. Remember, our weekly podcast features episodes on personal growth, mental health, relationships, business and entrepreneurship, and health and fitness. We would love to have Shivani on our show again in future to discuss more about employability and how do we develop our personal brand in the times ahead. So if you haven't yet done so, hit the subscribe button and go check out our website at sociallydesi.com for more of such content. And as always, before I sign off, remember, life is black and white and everything in between.